loan schemes to students at private universities. At the end of deliberations, the motion was negative, although there was a division that was called at the end of the debate on this particular motion, and the ayes who were in support of the motion had 51, while the noes had 75 and had 1 abstention, and to this effect the motion was negative.
And of course business ended with the closing or the end of the presidential debate. So the debate on the presidential address ended yesterday.
Right, just on a short side, on the other side, rather in a short while, we'll be looking at today's order paper. Please do stay tuned to Parliament Television.
Welcome back, and we have a look at today's order paper, which is Thursday, 29th September 2022, and we have 4 questions that will be considered coming at oral answer, and also 1 motion expected to be presented by Her Honor the Vice President. Julius, the details.
All right, as it was indicated when business for this week was being indicated, it was indicated that there will be a motion to suspend standing orders 25, 26, 27, and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 to enable the House to sit from 14:15 until business has been concluded on Friday, 30th September 2022, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. And so Her Honor the Vice President moves this motion to suspend these standing orders to enable the Minister of Finance and National Planning present the 2023 national budget tomorrow, beginning at 14:50.
After the motion, we expect the House to consider 5 questions for oral answer, and one of the questions is expected to come from Chifunavuli Member of Parliament, Ms. Julian Nyemba, and this is directed to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, and she wants to find out when construction of the following secondary schools in Chifunavuli district will be completed, and these are Kasaba and Munduvi schools, and what the cause of the delay in completion of this project is.
And Mr. George Chiwuyeroni, Member of Parliament, has directed a question to the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, in which he wants to find out whether the government has any plans to demolish the dilapidated houses of police officers at the Ron Police Camp in Ron Parliament constituency in order to construct new ones. If so, when the plans will be implemented, and if there are no such plans, why?
And a question from Sioma Member of Parliament, Mr. Mandandi, is directed to the Minister of Energy. He wants to find out whether government has any plans to connect Nangweshi and the Sioma Mini Hospital to the national electricity grid. And he also wants to know, if so, when the plans will be implemented, and when, and if there are no such plans, why?
Mr. Mulenga Fube Chiluvi, Member of Parliament, has directed this question to the Minister of Health, in which he wants to find out how many mini hospitals countrywide had been completed as of October 2021, and in 2, he wants to find out which ones are under construction as of the same date, and when the completed mini hospitals will be operational. So those are some of the questions that are up for consideration, and so we'll bring to you the live proceedings. And just about now, here is Madam Speaker's procession making way into the House. Stay tuned.
Madam Speaker.
Yeah.
Tendency of Zambia, proud and free, land of wealth and joy in unity, victors in the struggle for the right. We want freedom's fight, oh, one, strong and free. Africa is our own right. Bless our great Zambia, Zambia, Zambia. Remain we stand under the flag of our land. Zambia, rest to thee, O one, strong and free.
Prayer. Almighty God, who in your infinite wisdom and providential goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people, we beseech you to consider with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you have been pleased to call to the performance of such important responsibilities in this land. Let your blessing descend upon us here in Parliament assembled, and grant that we may, as in your presence, treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation, in so just and faithful a manner, as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our charge. Amen. Honorable members, I have two announcements to make. The first one is on the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that in accordance with Article 2002 of the Constitution of Zambia, the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning will tomorrow, 30th September 2022, present to the Assembly the estimates of the revenue and expenditure for 2023. The estimates shall, in accordance with Section 8.4 of the Public Debt Management Act, number 15 of 2022, be accompanied by an annual borrowing plan. In this regard, and in accordance with Standing Order 157.4, the estimates of expenditure will be referred to the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee, comprising honorable members of the Planning and Budgeting Committee and chairpersons of all the general purposes and portfolio committees. The annual borrowing plan, in accordance with Standing Order 195.4, be referred to the Planning and Budgeting Committee for examination for a period of 5 working days. The Planning and Budgeting Committee will be required to submit the report on the annual borrowing plan to the House on Tuesday, 11th October 2022, while the report of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee on the estimates of expenditure should be submitted to the House on Friday, 28th October 2022. The chairperson of the Planning and Budgeting Committee, Mr. F. Chatila, MP, will preside over the proceedings of the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee. Both the Planning and Budgeting Committee and the Expanded Planning and Budgeting Committee will hold their first meetings on Monday, 3rd October 2022, to consider and adopt their respective programs of work. I thank you. The next announcement is in relation to the committees, various committees. Honorable members, I wish to inform the House that in accordance with Standing Order 166.5, the Standing Orders Committee has made changes to the membership of some of the parliamentary committees as follows. 1. Committee on Media, Information and Communications Technologies. Mr. C. Kangombe, MP, has been appointed to the committee to replace Ms. B. Nyirenda, MP. To Committee on Cabinet Affairs, Mr. S. Lazo, MP, has been appointed to the committee to replace Mr. O. M. Amutike, MP. Ms. C.P. Halwindi, MP, has been appointed to the committee to replace Ms. E. Munashabantu, MP. 3. Committee on Sports, Youth and Child Matters. Ms. E. Munashabantu, MP, has been appointed to the committee to replace Ms. C.P. Halwindi, MP. 4th, Committee on Delegated Legislation, Mr. O. M. Amutike, MP, has been appointed to the committee to replace Mr. S. Lazo, MP. I thank you. Notice of motion. Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that Standing Orders 25, 26, and 27 and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House to sit from 14-15 hours until business is concluded on Friday, 30th September 2022, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper.
The question is that Standing Orders 25, 26, 27, and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House sit from 14-15 hours until business has been concluded on Friday, 30th September 2022, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. Any debate? Her Honor the Vice President.
Madam, it is a practice of the House to allow the Honorable Minister responsible for finance to present the national budget on a Friday afternoon. However, Standing Orders 25, 26, and 27 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 stipulate to the effect that the House shall sit from 09 hours to 13 hours with a 20-minute health break at 10:40 hours on Fridays, while Standing Order 80 provides for the Vice President's question time on the same day. Madam Speaker, it is with this in mind that I move this motion to suspend the mentioned standing orders so that the House can sit at 14-15 hours tomorrow, Friday, 30th September 2022, until business is concluded, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. This is to enable the Honorable Minister of Finance and National Planning present the 2023 national budget. Madam, this is a procedural and non-controversial motion. I therefore urge all honorable members of this august House to support it. Madam Speaker, I beg to move.
The question is that Standing Orders 25, 26, 27, and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House sit from 14-15 hours until business has been concluded on Friday, 30th September 2022, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. Any further debate? Honorable Member for Pambash.
I thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the motion as it is being presented is not controversial because that's a tradition. But, Madam Speaker, I would want to urge the executive that the expectations by the Zambian people are very high. As we suspend the Vice President's question time, we expect the trickling down for the sustained economy that has been stabilized to get down to the Zambian people. And, Madam Speaker, this morning, I went to government printers. I wanted to buy some books. I found that it has been disconnected by ZESCO. And why am I bringing it in? That is an institution that is supposed to print the budget. But if the Vice President cannot pretend upon the Minister of Finance to release 600,000 kwacha, as the information I got from the management from the government printers, that they are not working today. By 11 hours, ZESCO had disconnected them. So I want to urge the Vice President, this motion is very key as you prepare the budget. You need to capacitate and finance all the government institutions so that they are able to print the budget as the Minister of Finance is bringing the budget tomorrow and on behalf of the President of the Republic of Zambia. That is a noble duty that must be done. Those that are saying question, Madam Speaker, they may not understand the importance of the budget. The Minister of Finance presents for and on behalf of the President. It's the one that has appointed you as a minister, so you need to support it. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the motion may not be controversial, and therefore we are expecting at least the Zambian worker, Madam Vice President, the threshold on the pay-as-you-earn to go to at least 10,000 kwacha. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Member for Chapambashe, let's not preempt. The motion is to suspend standing orders. So now you are... Anyway, it's a procedural motion. Her Honor the Vice President, winding up debate. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. The Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was almost getting worried. Yes, Madam Speaker, this is a non-controversial motion, and I wish to support it. Your Honor, the Vice President, tomorrow is indeed a very important day. Presentation of the budget is a process that is very, very important to a nation, particularly our country, Madam Speaker. The cost of living has been increasing the past 12 months. We have a number of questions to do.
Honorable Leader of Opposition, it's not my intention to interrupt a leader when they are debating. Honorable members, let's stick to the motion. The motion is to suspend standing order 25, 26, 27, and 80. Now we are going into speculation, we are preempting, we are talking about the budget, which is not a subject matter on the floor of the House at this moment. May the Honorable Leader of Opposition continue as guided.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Your Honor, the Vice President, it's unfortunate that we would have lost an opportunity for the Vice President's question time. As you know, Madam Speaker, that is the time that we get government to account on a number of things that are happening. Like I said from the beginning, we support the motion that is presented on the floor of the House, and we hope that the many issues that are raising questions within our communities will be addressed through this budget presentation. With that, Madam Speaker, and in accordance with what the support I'm receiving from the Minister of Youth and Sport, former Chairman for Zanama, I wish to submit, Madam Speaker. I thank you.
Her Honor the Vice President, winding up debate.
Madam Speaker, I appreciate the support from indeed overwhelming support, and let me give comfort to those that wanted to venture into the debate they will have enough time to debate both the budget speech and the actual budget. And I can assure them that the aspirations of Zambians shall be made in the budget that is coming. Madam Speaker, I want to thank you very much.
I put the question. The question is that Standing Orders 25, 26, 27, and 80 of the National Assembly of Zambia Standing Orders 2021 be suspended to enable the House sit from 14-15 hours until business has been concluded on Friday, 30th September 2022, and also to omit the Vice President's question time from the order paper. As many are of that opinion, say aye. Of the contrary, say no. The ayes have it. The question is resolved in the affirmative. I have permitted the Honorable Minister of Agriculture to make a ministerial statement.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving me the opportunity to give a ministerial statement on the Farmer Input Support Program, FISIP, status of the 2022-2023 farming season. Kindly note that this ministerial statement, Madam Speaker, will only focus on the concluded purchase of fertilizer, and also we will look at the inputs of the program, that is the procurement, the process which is underway, and the awarding process that will be done in due course. Madam Speaker, kindly be informed that 1,024,434 farmers have been targeted for the 2022-2023 farming season using the direct input supply modality. I will repeat the figure, Madam Speaker, 1,024,434 farmers. Madam Speaker, this entails that all inputs will be procured by the government. The total tonnage of fertilizer for this farming season is 307,330.20 metric tons, of which 153,665.10 is urea, and the other half, 153,665.10 is D-compound. Madam Speaker, the distribution breakdown of the fertilizer by province is as follows. I will start with D-compound. Madam Speaker, ETG will supply in Northwestern Province D-compound a quantity of 10,195.95 metric tons. United Capital Fertilizer will supply to Western Province D-compound total 5,652.6 metric tons. United Capital Fertilizer will also supply in Northern Province the D-compound 14,747.25 metric tons. The same United Capital Fertilizer will also supply Muchinga Province D-compound 9,772.95. And the same United Capital Fertilizer will supply Luapula Province D-compound 9,270.60. Madam Speaker, Agrism Investment will supply Eastern Province the D-compound a total of 29,181.47 metric tons. And Alpha Commodities will supply Southern Province D-compound 27,506.25 metric tons. Madam Speaker, for the sake of Honorable Sampa, Alpha Commodities will supply Southern Province D-compound 27,506.25 metric tons. Nitrogen Chemicals of Zambia, Madam Speaker, is going to supply a total of 47,338.05 metric tons. This gives us a total of D compound of 153,665.10. Madam Speaker, I'll now move over to urea fertilizer. ETG, who supplies Northwestern Province the urea, total quantity of 10,195.95 metric tons. It will also supply Copperbelt the urea, 14,053 and 20 metric tons. It will also supply Northern Province the urea of 14,747.25. United Capital Fertilizer, Madam Speaker, will supply Western Province the urea, a total of 5,652.6 metric tons. The same United Capital Fertilizer also give Mchinga urea, 9,772.95 metric tons. The same company, United Capital Fertilizer, will give Luapula Province the urea, a total of 9,270.60 metric tons. Agrizam will supply Eastern Province 29,181.45 metric tons. Alpha Commodities will supply the equivalent amount as was with the D to Southern Province of 27,506.27 metric tons. Madam Speaker, Alpha Commodities will supply urea 27,506.65. Then there is a company called FSG, which stands for Fertilizer, Seed and Grain. It will supply urea to Central, a total of 24,406.65. And the same company, FSG, will supply urea to Lusaka Province, a total of 8,878.20 metric tons. Madam Speaker, the total estimated budget which was there for the fertilizer was 522,461,340. However, Madam Speaker, the actual expenditure on this fertilizer procurement, given the quantities I've given and the suppliers I've given, is 369,073,965.74 cents. Madam Speaker, I'm highly delighted and very happy to inform this August House that the government has, from the figures I've given, saved a total, Madam Speaker, of 153,387,374.26 cents. Madam Speaker, I will repeat it for the sake of Honorable Sampa. An equivalent of 153 million kwacha has been saved, Madam Speaker. $153 million has been saved. Madam Speaker, this can be attributed to the fact that the fertilizer, much of it, is being produced and purchased from local suppliers. Madam Speaker, government has strengthened the selection criteria by ensuring that only eligible beneficiaries get the benefits. Madam Speaker, allow me to outline the criteria that the government will use in the 2022-2023 farming marketing season. This, Madam Speaker, is the most important part of my statement this afternoon, given the confusion that is developing out in the provinces. Madam Speaker, in order to qualify for the program, an individual farmer needs to be, 1, be a member of a duly registered farmer organization or cooperative. The cooperative or farmer organization should have a registration certificate issued by the Department of Cooperatives under the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development or the Registrar of Societies. 2, Madam Speaker, such a beneficiary should be a registered small-scale farmer and actively involved in the farming within the camp coverage area. So you have to be a registered farmer with the Zambian government. And C, you must be cultivating not more than 5 hectares of land. Madam Speaker, we want to target the real small-scale farmer. So we want those with fields not more than 5 hectares, but 5 hectares or below. Madam Speaker, D, they should have the capacity to pay the 400 kwacha as farmer contribution per pack. 400 kwacha, no more than that. That is the money that is going to the government. And E, Madam Speaker, must be a Zambian and possess a green national registration card. And F, where possible, Madam Speaker, it is to their advantage if they have an active phone number. It is not a necessity, but where you have, it's an added advantage, an active phone number. 2, Madam Speaker, it is important that an individual farmer, A, should not be an employee of government of the Republic of Zambia. Therefore, you should not be a civil servant. You should not be from the public institutions such as the statutory bodies and parastatals. We want the real farmers. B, Madam Speaker, it should, this benefit is not meant to go to those who have government support programs similar, who are on government support programs similar to the Farmer Input Support Program. For example, the Food Security Pack from the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services. This is limited to those who are receiving fertilizer and seed, not those receiving cash. Those are welcome. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Each targeted farmer will receive a pack. And what is the definition of a pack? Madam Speaker, the pack is 3 by 50 kg bags of D compound and 3 by 50 kg bags of urea fertilizer, meaning a total of 6 bags of fertilizer. B, Madam Speaker, each of the 1,024,434 farmers will each get 1 by 10 kg bag of maize seed. And D, Madam Speaker, half of this number, half of the 1 million, will either get a 1 by 25 kg bag of soybean and the other half 1 by 20 kg bag of groundnut seed. Madam Speaker, allow me to make clarifications on some of the misconceptions that have emerged in the 2022-2023 farming season regarding the FISIP program. Madam Speaker, an individual beneficiary will not be required to pay any other money apart from the 400 kwacha farmer contribution. B, Madam Speaker, a voter's card is not a requirement for farmers to be registered and to benefit from the program. A voter's card is not a requirement for the FISIP program. No, it is not. Madam Speaker, may I conclude by indicating that the flagging off for the distribution of fertilizer was held on the 21st of September, and the exercise is going on pretty well, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, may I reaffirm government's commitment to a timely distribution of inputs and a transparent selection process. The New Dawn government, Madam Speaker, under the leadership of His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Zambia, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, and our Honor, the Vice President, is committed, Madam Speaker, to improve the livelihoods of our poor people and increase food security in the country. Among the many interventions that can actualize this aspiration is prudent implementation of the Farmer Input Support Program, which government is undertaking. Madam Speaker, I thank you, and I thank the honorable members for listening attentively.
Thank you. Honorable members are now free to ask questions on points of clarification on the ministerial statement given by the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. The Honorable Member for Chama North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for according the people of Chama North to ask a question to the Minister of Agriculture. Minister of Agriculture, thank you very much for that ministerial statement. And I want to commend you that you have been able to source this fertilizer locally instead of importing fertilizer where the country loses a lot of money. Now, Madam Speaker, Minister of Agriculture, you are alive to the fact that some of us who come from rural constituencies like Chama, the roads are very bad. And what assurances are you giving to the people of Chama and the people of Zambia that this fertilizer would be able to reach all parts of the country before the onset of the rain season? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I thank you, and I thank the Honorable Member for Honorable Mtachalo. Madam Speaker, for us to give this fertilizer to the provinces is a contractual obligation that the government has gone into with the people of Zambia who are beneficiaries of the FISI program. So we will take it very seriously that as much as possible, the inputs reach the farmers on time. I'm happy that we are working closely with the other ministries to make sure that the roads in those areas which are quite bad are worked on so that the inputs can reach them. But be assured, Honorable Mtachalo, through the Speaker, that the fertilizer will be in Chama, Lundazi, Chipata, all over the country on time. I thank you.
Thank you. We'll add 5 minutes since the statement was longer, so we add 5 minutes. The Honorable Member for Shiwangandu.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. We appreciate the ministerial statement from the Honorable Minister of Agriculture. Honorable Minister, we just wanted to get categorically clear from you. Does it now mean that my village farmers in Shwangandu do not need to belong to a cooperative and that they don't need to get their biometrics captured at the district? Because in your initial statement, as you were briefing the media, you did indicate that our farmers needed to get their biometrics captured and their images captured. And you know the dynamics of our rural, just like your constituency, there can only be one central place where that can be done. Can you clarify on that matter so that our village farmers can be at peace? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable has actually asked 2 questions, and I will attempt to answer both of them for the benefit of the nation. The first, which you put through, Honorable Member, was, are you confirming that one doesn't need to be a member of a cooperative? I think I got that very clearly. I want to put it very clearly that if one is not a member of a cooperative, you will not participate. Because I made it very clear, it was one of the first things that I said here. You must be a member of a duly registered farm organization or cooperative. And such a cooperative should be registered with the Ministry of Small Scale or indeed the Register of Cooperatives. So I just wanted to make that clear because we could misinform the farmers. You have to be a member of a cooperative and it should be identified by the government. Now, the second part you raised is very important. This afternoon, I've tried to make things very, very clear so that we do not confuse our farming community. There are things going on in the background, which are going on and going on very well. And we are going to make sure that we try as much as possible for the sake of the farmers to identify them, that if member A is the one who is registered, member A should receive the input. And you know, Honorable Member, just like all of us here, that one of the things that is useful is to capture a picture of such a farmer. Now, there are areas which are very close to places where they can get their pictures captured. We are saying, please go there. Let's encourage the farmers to go there. Then there are those areas which are far-flung. We are working with Smart Zambia that they can also take time to go to those areas so that we don't inconvenience the farmer. But we are going to make sure as much as we can, to the extent that we can, that the farmers are captured so that we give the right beneficiary. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mwinilunga.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Minister, for the clarifications that you have offered and for your statement. I think most of the issues that our rural farmers had, you have really cleared them. But one more thing that is remaining is the issue of at a time when getting fertilizers. In the past, our farmers, those who are coming from far-flung areas, like 130 kilometers away from Mwinilunga, they are represented. You know, they are representatives of a cooperative would go and get the fertilizers on behalf of the people that are unable to move to such long distances. Is that going to be allowable this time around, that the fertilizers will be collected by the representatives of such cooperatives? Because that's the only issue that is remaining. Once that is clarified, we'll be very happy and I'll have a glass of wine. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I would like to encourage us in this House, Madam Speaker, that let us embrace change, especially if the change is meant to improve a given program. Yes, for farmers, just like the question which was posed by Honorable Member from Shewangandu, the farmers who, when they are now going to collect, they will be expected as much as possible to go and collect on their own. They will be expected as much as possible to go and collect on their own, because that's the only way we will make sure that this input is given to the right beneficiary. It was this system that created a lot of problems. However, Madam Speaker, however, in being a caring government and in appreciating the distances, because some distances are more than 100 kilometers indeed, we have said, with prior arrangements, there can be a camp officer getting the details, working with the CAC, working with the DACO, working with, yes, so that the list is done, and then this fertilizer can be picked as a group and taken to these areas. But we will not just accept so many of these coming through, because that is where mischief is actually found, and that is where it is established. And I think the members in here know what I'm talking about. There is a lot of mischief. So if we want this program, 400 and something million US dollars, to be going to traders, we should resist this change. Let us, as much as possible, encourage the farmers. Where do they buy meal anyway? They go to buy these things. They also fertilizer. Let them, those who are nearby, let them go and get this fertilizer. But those who are distant places, definitely, we will allow a collective responsibility so that we can not punish the farmer. This is not meant to punish the farmer. It's meant to actually encourage more production. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Wacha.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you so much, Minister, for the ministerial statement. Minister, I just want to know, and on behalf of the farmers out there, when are they supposed to start contributing or depositing the 400 kwacha? When are they supposed to start depositing in the, is it bank accounts or? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A very, very important question. They will start depositing any day after the 3rd of October. I have been talking about the 3rd of October, but I've been guided this afternoon that any day after the 3rd of October, it could be on the 4th or the 5th. So it is within the first week of October, they should be ready with the 400 kwacha. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Petauke Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving the good people of Petauke this opportunity to ask a follow-up question. The Minister of Agriculture, thank you for your ministerial statement. Now the question to the good people of Petauke. The good people of Petauke, as you are aware, Minister, that 90% are farmers. And then we had an opportunity that we should be getting the cooperative certificate locally at the council. And most of the farmers, they got those certificates, cooperative certificate at the council, but you have informed us to say the only certificates or the cooperative to be used, it's under small scales, but not at the council. So what are those farmers going to do? Are you going to give them time frame so that they can also register the other certificate for them to participate? Thank you.
Anyway, for the sake of the people who didn't understand, maybe the minister can answer the question.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I thank you. This is another very important question, and it needs clarity. Madam Speaker, the FISI program all along has never used the council certificates for cooperatives. The certificates which are recognized were those given by the Registrar of Cooperatives and now the small and medium-scale enterprises. So I would encourage you, Honorable Member, through the Speaker, to, honestly speaking, work very seriously on this, because that is a source of problems. We will not accept a certificate from the Council because we have never used the Council certificate. And in my statement, I made it clear, I think that's what the Speaker was referring to, that I mentioned only two sources of this: the Registrar then, and now, Minister of Small and Medium Scale Enterprises. Madam Speaker, I thank you. So, no council certificates. Let those who can, like the Honorable Member, work very seriously with those cooperatives to get the right certificates. I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mbavala.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for allowing the people of Mbavala to ask a follow-up question on this very exciting ministerial statement from the Minister of Agriculture. Honorable Minister, a few days ago, I saw a clip of, I don't know whether it was a witch doctor or a nganga or whatever, at a graveyard, who was being held in the West and barefoot with a lot of cameras, alleging a lot of information about, misinformation about the FISIP program. One of them was the voters card and many other insinuations which were really...
Order, Honorable Member, because of time constraints, can you go straight to your question?
I wanted the minister to clarify. Hopefully he saw the clip, which I saw. I want the minister to clarify whether what was being mentioned at the graveyard by that witch doctor is correct or not. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In the first place, Madam Speaker, I did not watch the clip of the witch doctor. I'm being very honest, and I would not really respond to a witch doctor. I will respond to the honorable members of this House and the farmers of this country when they ask questions which are straight and are supposed to enhance the program. So all I can say is there will be a lot of things said by witch doctors and all sorts of people. But I think clarity is what we give in this honorable House to the honorable people of Zambia. For those, let us allow them to exercise their right. Zambia is a democratic state. Madam Speaker, I thank you. It could be at any place. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Matero.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm grateful. I wasn't meant to ask, but the minister in his statement kept bringing my name in. when in actual sense in Matero, the residents there in Baraston and Kasupe, none of those will receive even a single bag from this FISIP. That said, Madam Speaker, my question is direct. FISIP, that's where all governments, this one inclusive, lose a lot of money in the treasury. FISIP, fertilizer, and on oil supply. Madam Speaker, I note on the suppliers, it's a few companies that will supply millions of dollars, millions, overpriced for that matter, 200% overpriced. 3, 4 companies you mentioned, Alpha Commodity, we keep hearing Alpha Commodity, Alpha Commodity. The question is, are there not many other companies owned by Zambians, SME companies owned by youths, some youths even from UPND, owning these companies? Are you likely to include them in the supply chain of this FISIP so that we just don't concentrate on the usual one company or two, and with that the Gini coefficient increases. The rich become richer and the poor majority become the poorer, because the contract of FISIPs keep going to the same people, same people. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I thank you. First of all, I would like to give clarity on the issue that this fertilizer is overpriced. Madam Speaker, I just gave indications here of how much money the government has saved. Madam Speaker, the average price of this fertilizer is 1,200, and at the current levels of fertilizer pricing worldwide, this was a very, very good deal. And I would honestly ask Honorable Member for Matero to help where we could get fertilizer which is, as he says, 200% cheaper than this. It is simply not possible, Honorable Sampa. I mean, you are a financial person. It is not possible. So I wanted to make that clear, because we mislead people, and that's why there's a lot of talking and insults and all sorts of things going around because of such information. We buy fertilizer, which we had budgeted at about 1,700, which was the price then. We buy the fertilizer at less than 1,200. And honestly, we come here and tell people that. Madam Speaker, why are we doing that to the people of Zambia? It is misleading. It is not right. Then let me come to the issue of the companies. Madam Speaker, I will take time to explain this because it is important. The last time that we spoke here, we had said that the New Dawn government is going to float a tender, and we did just that. Madam Speaker, 120 companies bought the tender document. 70 companies responded and submitted their bids. Out of those, Madam Speaker, 30 were successful in almost all the parameters. And that is what we wanted. However, alas, Madam Speaker, when we picked 11 out of the 30, you can only pick so many. When we picked 11 out of the 30, there was infighting and all sorts of things until they found weaknesses. And who were these? Companies that were used to supplying fertilizer. And that caused a problem. And in the process, the tender was cancelled. And what did we do? We could not start playing with time. There are farmers here, 1 million farmers here. We went for selective tender. 1, 2, 3, 4. People who had the capacity, give us a fertilizer. And that is why, Madam Speaker, as I speak to you now, in a place like Mchinga, for example, already 30 to 40% of the fertilizer has been delivered. And that's what we want. We want performance and delivery. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
The Honorable Member for Chasefu. Honorable members on my left, please, can we maintain some silence?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving the people of Chasefu an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. I want first to thank the Minister for that wonderful statement. The people of Chasefu are very happy. especially on the savings that you have a prudent government now. We're able to save resources of 153 million. Mr. Speaker, I was very comfortable with a statement by the minister, especially a follow-up question, until the minister mentioned the words of camp officers and khaki officials. Those are the people who are killing this nation. I would have loved to keep them away from this process. Let the farmers get the fertilizer on their own. Otherwise, we shall have a problem. My follow-up question, Madam Speaker, is how are we, within a short period of time, going to ensure that some farmers who benefit from FSP do not qualify or do not find themselves on the FISI program as we are regulated? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister of Agriculture.
Madam Speaker, I thank the Honorable Member for Chasefu for those kind words. Thank you very much for encouraging, and also thank you so much for knowing that if we go by what is being encouraged, that we use the camp officers, etc., we could have mischief. I mentioned it, that this is where problems start from. But you need to have some concern for people who are very far away from the collection points, and some of them are pretty old. So in that, we might have to use the same. I was answering to the Honorable Member for Mwinilunga. Now, to your question, Madam Speaker, I work very closely with Madam Honorable Madam Minister for Community Development, and she has very few members who are actually, she has very few members who are on this program which we are going to accept, and that is the cash transfer. They are not more than 1,000, are they, Madam? They are very few. We will absorb them. When you use computers, it's very easy to capture and know that this is the person. However, the ones we are interested in, whom we don't want to include there, are those who are collecting fertilizer and seed. For those, we are going to be very, very serious. We will scan through our information, and Smart Zambia is there to do that work. So don't worry, Honorable Member, we will capture them and put them aside. Just like we will capture the civil servants and put them aside. Just like we will capture the military people, men in uniform, and put them aside. Just like we will capture most of the members of staff in the agricultural field, our own members, will put them aside. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. There's an indication for a point of order. Honorable Member for Pambashe, what's the point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is on the Minister in relation to Standing Order 65 and in breach of the Public Procurement Act number of 2020. Madam Speaker, the Minister of Agriculture stood and stated very clearly how they followed the procedure when awarding the fertilizer to 11 companies. And those that appealed were within the confinement of the law. And to hear, Madam Speaker, the Minister stating that because of infighting, the government decided through his ministry, as submitted by the minister, I hope you heard him. That's why I quickly went to the law, to cancel the tender, which is not supported by any clause in the Public Procurement Act, because any bidder has a right to appeal if he is not satisfied with the decision, and to the procurement entity. If he is not happy with the procurement entity, he has a right even to go to court. I'm talking to a very zone lawyer, Madam Speaker. He's the minister, therefore, in order to mislead the nation by alleging that because of the infighting among those who could have missed after picking 11 was a reason for them to cancel the tender, disregarding the provisions of the law. And I shall lay the Public Procurement Act, Madam Speaker, on Article number 50, number 54, up to 60, for your peruse, so that you can be able to see the procedures that are followed when you are procuring. And I took interest because I was a member of the ZPPA for the period of 5 years, and I fully participated in the crafting of this law. I seek your serious ruling, Madam Speaker.
Since you have referred to a number of documents which I've had no opportunity to look at and peruse, maybe I just reserve my ruling and we make progress. Question for oral answer under Standing Order 74. The Honorable Member for Chifunabuli.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Number 45.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honorable Member for Chifunabuli.
Sorry, Honorable Minister, before you proceed. Honorable Member for Chieng, what's the point of order? Honorable Members, before we go into these points of order, I have an order paper here which I need to go through quickly. As you heard from the Honorable Member for Pambashe, he wants to go and look for something at government printers. So I wanted to finish quickly so that we give him that opportunity. So please, let's not raise points of order which are meant to delay the proceedings. So if I don't allow points of order, please just bear with me that I have work that is before me which I have to go through up to a certain point. The Honorable Member for Chieng, what's the point of order?
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And I must say thank you for giving me to be the last person to give the point of order. Madam Speaker, the point of order is on the Minister of Agriculture who was on the floor. I was hoping I would be given a chance to ask a question on behalf of the people of Chieng. Madam Speaker, we have a lot of cooperatives in Chieng. As we're talking, it's like almost...
First of all, Honorable Member, what's the breach?
The breach is that Standing Order 65, because it didn't say the truth about these cooperatives, how they're going to collect the fertilizer. Madam Speaker, as we're speaking, in Chiengi, it's like out of the number of the cooperatives that we have, it's like almost all of them will not access FISIP. I've sat with him to show him the list that had been coming through, and I was expecting that to be in the statement. So how are the people of Chiengi, the farmers of Chiengi, going to receive this fertilizer? I would like to know, because the minister didn't mention.
So, Honorable Member for Chiengi, don't use a point of order to ask a question. That point of order is not admitted. May the Honorable Minister of Infrastructure proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And the question from the Honorable Member for Chifunabuli, Honorable Nyemba, to the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. Two questions. The first one, A, is when the construction of the following secondary schools in Chifunabuli district will be completed: 1, Kasava, and 2, Mondovi, not Mondovi, but Mondovi. And B, what the cause of the delay in completing the project is. Madam Speaker, the answer to question A is the construction of the following secondary schools in Chifunabuli district is as follows. 1, Kasava Secondary School will be completed once funds to complete the remaining works are made available. Number 2, Mundovi Secondary School is being undertaken under community mode and will be completed by fourth quarter of 2022. The project has now received all the funds for the completion of phase 2 targets, and the works are in progress. Question B, the cause of delay to complete the construction of the secondary schools has been due to the following. For Kasava Secondary School, the delay has been caused by constraint in funding for to the project. Number 2, for Mundovi Secondary School, the phased release of funds has affected progress the execution of the project. However, works are scheduled to be completed by fourth quarter of 2022, following release of funds for the remaining works. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions? The Honorable Member for Chifunavuli.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the good answers given to the people of Chifunavuli. Honorable Minister, I know Mondovi Secondary School, as you have given us the good answers. The people of Chifunavuli would also want to know when is likely Kasava Secondary School an assurance, as it is with Mondovi Secondary School, as they are waiting so that they access the CDF and the free education. When is it likely that Kasawa Secondary School can also be worked on? Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. With respect to Kasaba Secondary School, a little bit of more information. The contractor is Assesco Construction Limited. The total contract sum is 16,999,617.78 kwacha. The total amount of certified work to date is 7,679,130 kwacha 99 ngwe. So therefore, Kasava's secondary school's overall progress of works stands at 70%. Scope of works for Kasava Secondary School, that is, it was one assembly hall, 10 houses, 2 1-by-3 classroom blocks, one 1-by-2 science lab or laboratory, one 1-by-2 home economics, and one administration block. The answer specifically to our question is these works, which are 70% complete, will be completed once the funds are allocated. It's the desire of this government that most of these uncompleted schools throughout the country are completed, and the government is making every effort to secure funds for the purpose of completing these schools throughout the country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable members. As the questions are being answered, please let's listen to the answers. If you want to chat, you can you can step outside and chat, and then come back. The honorable member for Kantanshi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I just wanted some clarity because I have a school, Murundu Boarding School, which has been under construction since 2012 and still incomplete. I heard the minister mention some funds being released in a phased manner. I just wanted some clarity when those funds are released and how the ministry decides to apportion which school should receive what. I just needed a better understanding, Madam Speaker. Thanks.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the Honorable Member for Kantanshi, Honorable Anthony Mom, I think he misunderstood. I didn't say the funds will be released. What I said is the government is in the process of trying to secure funds to ensure that a number of these uncompleted projects are indeed worked upon. So until such time as these funds are available, it will be inopportune to give a priority listing as to which school or which hospital will be completed before the other. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Chipili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, you alluded to that when funds are available, which is very true, we are waiting patiently. You made a statement at one point where you are talking of dealing with those infrastructure which has 85% to be attended to, but that one you have mentioned is now 75% in Chifunabuli. So when are we seeing this taking place? What is the time frame that you can assure this August House that by this period we'll be able to move in now the funds are available? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I thank the Honorable Member for Chipili. When we say when funds are made available, and we have one insistent question of when are the funds going to be made available, it's difficult sometimes to predict. I don't want to go into another of my long answers as to what happened in the economy and what we are trying to do to put it right. Suffice to say, the question that you alluded to, that when we said 80%, this was a policy from our predecessors, because even them recognized that there was shortage of funds, and therefore they restricted ongoing projects to those projects that had attained 80% and above. This particular project we're talking about is 70%, but the point I'm making is the policy of this government in terms of education is very clear. We want as many of our children as possible to be in schools, proper schools, and that is why we are leaving no stone unturned to secure more funds to ensure that some of these are completed. When he says when, there will be no fund that is secured without the involvement of Parliament. The responsibility of Parliament to appropriate, and this is what we are starting tomorrow, the process of appropriation, which will lead to the appropriation bill just before we rise. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 46.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, Honorable Joe Chuye, Member of Parliament for Ron Parliamentary Constituency, asks the following questions. A, whether the government has any plans to demolish the dilapidated houses for police officers at the Ron Police Camp in Ron Parliamentary Constituency in order to construct new ones. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, in responding to the questions raised by Honorable Chiwe, I wish to inform the House that A, Ron Police Camp in Ron Parliamentary Constituency has a total of 73 housing units, which are in a dilapidated state, and only 34 of them are currently occupied. Government has plans to demolish the dilapidated houses at Ron Police Station, and B, the dilapidated police housing units at Ron Police Camp will only be demolished when funds are made available to construct new housing units. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary questions, Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister for Home Affairs and Internal...
Order. honorable members have on several occasions warned that don't force me to compel honorable members to come to leave their phones outside. A phone has just rung. Let it be the last warning. The next time a phone rings, all honorable members will have to leave their phones outside without any exception. That is a final warning. May the honorable member for Ron proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, once more, and thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your response. It is glad to notify Honorable Minister that you are aware about the state of the houses in the camp at Ron Police Station. And just to add on the information, Honorable Minister, these houses were constructed in 1956. And when I passed through the compound, Honorable Minister, it was sad also to notice that the officers are using Petra trains, some of which are actually covered by empty sacks of cement, and to some extent, the PF Chitenga materials were used to cover up the Petra trains. Honorable Minister, you have stated that you're going to construct the houses when funds are available. But meanwhile, your officers, the new recruits, are actually refusing to be accommodated in these dilapidated houses, and they're resorting to staying in the compound, making it very difficult for your officer in charge to mobilize when need arises. And the officer in charge himself is renting a house outside the compound. Are there any alternatives, Honorable Minister, as you are waiting for these resources to ensure that you put these officers in one place? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I've noted the concerns that have been raised by the Honorable Member of Parliament for Ron. Madam Speaker, in a situation where officers are not accommodated, they are entitled to a housing allowance. That is the stopgap measure which we provide. However, we are aware of the situations as I indicated. We will look into the issues. Once we are given authority and money is made available, this particular police station, Madam Speaker, will be taken as one of the priority areas which we are going to construct houses.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I wanted to find out from the Minister of Home Affairs. The plans have been indicated that when the resources are available, there will be intentions by government to replace the old infrastructure. Would you be in a position, Minister, to indicate if the costings have been done for the new projects that you intend to undertake in the foreseeable future? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, as Ministry of Home Affairs and Internal Security, we have intentions of constructing 1,000 police houses throughout the country. We are just waiting for funding to be provided. Everything is in place. Once the funds are made available, we'll embark on this particular exercise. We are aware of the plight of our men in uniform who are doing a very commendable job providing policing services to the country.
The Honorable Member for Ron.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, once more. Honorable Minister, on top of that, it is a common practice now that government land is being encroached nearly everywhere. And the case in sight is the Luansha Central Police Station where the land has been encroached. What are you doing to ensure that as we are waiting for these funds, the piece of land that is where the Ron Police Camp is sitting is protected from encroachment? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Internal Security.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are working with the Minister of Lands to ensure that all public facilities in the country are provided with the title deeds and they are secured.
Honorable Member for Chengi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you Honorable Minister, for the answers that you're giving. Honorable Minister, even when you just drive in this Skanza camp, it's a sorry sight. If you look at some of the houses that are occupied by our officers, I would like to find out what can be done, the immediate bailout that can be done to the officers in Luansha, at Ron, to help them live a proper life. This has made them even not to be, maybe not performing properly. If you go there, I think you've been there, I've been there. So I would want to find out, is there an immediate plan that you can do for them? Because there's a housing allowance that we're talking about. It's nothing that they can pay for rentals. So is there another way, another method, or anything that the government can do for the officers? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security.
Madam Speaker, as I indicated earlier, we are aware of the plight of police officers, not just in Ron constituency, where as a result of the sufferings they have gone through under PF, they have now resorted to using pieces of chitenge materials which they were being given by the PF to cover the toilets in Ron. We are aware of those problems. We are in the process, as I indicated, once authority is given and money is available, we'll provide decent accommodation to our officers.
The Honorable Member for Bwana Mkubwa.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security, for the answers which have been provided. Perhaps my question I want to ask is just to find out from the ministry's perspective if they've looked at the deficit countrywide vis-a-vis their own scenario to know what is what does the police require in terms of housing countrywide or province-wise. Then how do you intend to phase it to ensure that this is mitigated? Because our police officers or our men and women in uniform, morale is very, very important. That is in terms of accommodation and other incentives. Thank you so much.
That's a different question expanded. I'm sure if you want to ask that question, it can be put through another question to the Honorable Minister, so that he is not taken by surprise. Can we make progress? The next question, Honorable Member for Sioma.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Question number 47.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Sorry, Madam Speaker. Honorable Mandandi, to ask the Minister of Energy whether three questions, whether the government has any plans to connect Nangweshi and Sioma mini hospitals to the national electricity grid. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. And C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, the answer to A is yes, the government of the Republic of Zambia through the Rural Electrification Authority, REA, has plans to rectify Nangweshi and Sioma public infrastructure. B, the government of the Republic of Zambia through Rural Electrification Authority plans to rectify Nangweshi Mini Hospital by the end of December 2022, and the electrification of the public infrastructure in Sioma is planned for 2023. I wish to inform the House that in 2020, REA conducted a feasibility study to establish the scope and cost of electrifying Nangweshi Mini Hospital. The project will involve the construction of a 3.5 kilometer of 11 kV overhead grid lines, 550 meters of 0.4 kV overhead line, and installation of 1 by 50 kVA transformer to supply power to the mini hospital at a cost of 2.7 million kwacha. With regard to Sioma Public Infrastructure, the Rural Electrification Authority is currently conducting a study to establish the scope of works and the cost of electrification. The feasibility study started in the first week of September 2022 and is expected to be completed by the end of October 2022. However, it should be noted that implementation of this project, the electrification of public infrastructure in Sioma, will be undertaken subject to the availability of funds. Answer to question C. As earlier alluded to, government has plans to rectify Nangweshi Hospital and public infrastructure in Sioma. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions, Honorable Member for Sioma.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and thank you very much, Minister, for that response. Minister, Sioma district has no district referral hospital, and the people of Sioma depend on Nangweshi Mini Hospital and also Sioma Rural Health Center for referral services, patients coming from the outlying health posts. Now, looking at the time frame that you've given, and the final answer where you say funds available or funds being available, don't we have any other sources, Your Honorable Minister, where government can lay their hands on to ensure that the people of Sioma, are saved from the agony of always having to transport or to refer patients from Sioma Boma or Sioma district to the nearest district, which is Senanga, which is about 100+ kilometers, which is somehow very, very costly as well, and also tedious to the patients. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Mandandi. My reaction to that will be I would encourage the Member of Parliament to use part of the CDF, which will be adequate to cover at least one hospital. I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Luvasenshi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving this opportunity to the good people of Luvanseshi constituency. Through Madam Speaker, Honorable Minister of Energy, I would like to find out. Last time when we talked about the issue of connectivity, you indicated that as a country, we have a problem with pause that you intended to source even from outside of this country. Could you confirm and assure the good people of Nangweshi and the Sioma that the pole or pause are now available and they should not worry, because Nangweshi and the Sioma main hospitals are not the only hospitals that needs electricity, but with other main hospitals countrywide. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think that statement was connected to the ZESCO connection. This is in relation to rural electrification, which is different from town connections, I submit.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I think this is the right time. Africans needed to go outside the box. We are used to power generation using water, and almost like everyone is convinced that water is the only main source of energy. However, Madam Speaker, my question is the Minister aware that Africa can supply the whole world with energy from solar? Because currently, Africa has a potential of providing 4.5 kilowatt hour per day. The whole world. Is the Minister aware? And if he's aware, why can't we take that as an advantage for us instead of depending on water which is determined by the amount of rainfall. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm aware of that, but what we should do is let's look at what is in-house. Right now, we have started with an ambitious program which is going to be funded by the German government called GetFit, which will supply solar power to the magnitude of about 120 megawatts. So we are moving in the right direction. I submit.
Thank you. Next question, the Honorable Member for Chiluvi.
Question 49, 48, Madam Speaker.
Oh, thank
Question
you.
48, Madam Speaker.
Yes, we've heard. Question 48, the Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Mr. Fumbe is asking the Minister of Health, A, how many mini hospitals countrywide had been completed as of October 2021, and 2, were under construction as of the same date, and B, when the completed mini hospitals will become operational. Our response, Madam Speaker, to the questions are as follows. 1, 75 out of 115 mini hospitals countrywide were completed as of October 2021. Secondly, the answer is 23 out of 115 mini hospitals countrywide were under construction as of the same date. To question B, the answer is all the completed mini hospitals which were handed over are operational. Thank you.
Supplementary questions, Honorable Member for Chiluvi.
Madam Speaker, I would like to know whether there is a variation in the cost of, for instance, this time passage has been there. The variation for those that are not completed in terms of cost per each mini hospital.
Unfortunately, I couldn't hear that. We, Honorable Member for Chiluvi, unfortunately, we cannot hear your question. The Honorable Member for Chienge.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, in Chienge, we have 2 main hospitals, and which I believe are not yet, one of them is about to be in operational. So I'd like to find out when is the government is going to hand over these main hospitals so that they can be fully functional. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just want to make a mini correction to my earlier answer, Madam. I think I read an odd, just a correction, that in fact 64, not 75, but 64 mini hospitals were completed. And of the completed mini hospitals, only 49 are currently operational and 28 are still under construction. So in answering the question from the Chienge Member of Parliament, I just want to say that the reasons why sometimes a structure is completed but not operational might be because sometimes you have to employ staff or move staff around. And this is part of the reason why government made a decision to employ the over 11,000. It was also partly to help us operationalize a number of infrastructure that were completed but not yet operational. And so, Madam Speaker, now that almost 98% of the 11,000 have been um, um, deployed in various provinces and districts, we are hoping that now we will be able to open quite a good number of those that may have been completed but not operational. Thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Mitete.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Minister, thank you so much. Minister, this is countrywide distribution of mini hospitals countrywide. Mitete became a district in 2013 and was left out of this countrywide distribution of mini hospitals. Any hope, Minister, for a mini hospital, even just one, for Mitete district? Minister.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Madam Speaker, you recall that on the floor of this House, I did indicate that there were some health posts, many hospitals that were constructed in certain parts of the country, and that under the new Dawn government, one of our principles, not just equality, but ensuring equity of distribution of health facilities countrywide. And that to that effect, we had actually made some adjustments for those that were not yet constructed. And we had made sure that all the provinces, there was some form of equity. Having said that, you recall, Madam Speaker, that I did also indicate that I would bring a comprehensive list for the information of the members. It came to my attention that I think my office, they brought a list which was circulated, and I noted that there were mistakes in that list because that was not the updated list. I've since asked the officers to make to your office available the latest list that was actually adjusted. So I'll seek your indulgence and the member through you, the members that I'll make the list available, hopefully before end of next week, so that members can have a clear knowledge exactly how many are in which in the various provinces and districts. And that will be only regarding to those which were not yet constructed. But for those that were constructed, completed, and those that were not completed, we shall complete them and we shall make them operational. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, when the question was, we looked at the question today, I was wondering whether that list had been circulated. We will appreciate that corrected list so that the honorable members can be informed on the status of the main hospitals. The honorable member for Mandevu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think my question has been answered in the additional information that the Minister gave. Thank you so much.
Thank you. The honorable member for Bangweulu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wanted to ask if it was going to be possible for the Minister to provide the list, but she has just alluded to that, so my question has been overtaken. Thank you.
Thank you. The honorable member for Kamfinsa.
Minister, you did indicate that with the recruitment of new health workers, you will be able to facilitate the opening of some of these facilities that have been built. I am aware, Madam Speaker, that in Kamfinsa constituency, we do have health centers that were built and have not been operational simply because we do not have health workers. Are you able to indicate if steps have been taken to ensure that the farm block of Kanshimu can now have their health facility operational, and in Misaka B5, these are already built up infrastructure ready for opening? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, Honorable, for that follow-up question. Yes, Madam Speaker, I want to state that for facilities which are completed, even equipment or furniture is already there, what is only remaining is the issue of staff. We shall be making those become operational soon. Thank you.
I had closed, but I've seen Honorable Member for Kaumbwe.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, these many hospitals, they do not come with a mortuary. And Kaumbwe is a beneficiary of a mini hospital, but it is not yet opened. I think all the civil works are done. Health staff are there, but it's the equipment which is missing. Would you consider to provide us with a mortuary? Because the whole constituency has no mini hospital. This is the only mini hospital, and we go to Petauke district and Nyimba for mortuary services. I thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It is correct to say that many hospitals that were constructed did not have mortuaries. But if you have noted, Madam Speaker, in the past months since we took office, there's been a number of concerns being raised on the floor of the House by members from various constituencies demanding for mortuaries and articulating that the mortuary would have been something that would be very ideal. My response to that is, whilst I appreciate that, I want to advise members that it would help if members could make a decision under CDF if a particular MP thinks that a mortuary is a very important facility in their constituency or district, and because they have none, it would really help that they do that themselves using the CDF. Also to say that in the 2022 budget, you recall, Madam Speaker, we did say that we were going to purchase some equipment for mortuary equipment, and those of course will be distributed to a number of districts, but even those will not be sufficient. So I think we need to get to a place where members can work closely with us so that those who can manage to put up a mortuary can be supported. And maybe for others, obviously, because it was already planned, or either they already have a mortuary, maybe they just don't have any equipment. But where you don't even have a mortuary infrastructure, you don't have any equipment, it would help that under CDF, you do that. Also, using this opportunity, I want to appeal to the members of parliament. I want to say that the challenges in the ministry are huge. The country is big. The data collection of information that we have is not up to date. And therefore, I'd like to appeal to members of parliament within their own jurisdiction. If they know something, let them write. Even just a WhatsApp letter for me is sufficient, so that we just have a record, so that some of these matters we can really work together to solve them than wait for 3 months to bring a question here. I think it's really going to help us because, you know, health issues can't wait, and we are having challenges. There's a lot of work, and unless we all work together, these problems will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. With that appeal from the Honorable Minister, let's make progress. Next question, the Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Question number 49.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Miutu from Kalabo Central to ask the Minister of Green Economy and Environment whether the government has any plans to degazette some forests in Kalabo district in order to free up land for agricultural activities. B, if so, when the plans will be implemented. C, if there are no such plans, why? Madam Speaker, currently government has no plans to degazette any forest in Kalabo district for agricultural activities or any other purpose. B, as stated in the response A above, there's no timeline as government has no such plans. Number C, there are no such plans because most of the forest reserves are in ecologically sensitive areas and require protection. It is therefore important, Madam Speaker, to preserve forests as they improve the environment by restoring lost biodiversity, enhance food security, they improve air and water quality, thus contributing to job creation. In addition, forest restoration contributes to soil conservation and protection of water catchment areas. The desire is to have at least 15% of the land in the country as protected forest reserves. Currently, forest reserves cover approximately 9% of the total land mass in the country. This implies that further degazation will further reduce the percentage of forest cover. In the advent of climate change, there's an increased need to provide more protection to the forests. Madam Speaker, in Kalabo, which is the subject district, the total land area covered by forest reserves is approximately 3.4%. These forest reserves also act as a buffer to the Zambezi Plains, which is one of Zambia's natural heritage. Therefore, land required for agriculture can be sought in other unprotected areas through their Royal Highnesses as well as the local authority. Further, preservation of forest reserves has greater benefit for both government and communities through carbon trading as well as reduction of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Successful carbon trading generates income for the country and households, particularly thus improving their livelihoods. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary questions. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Kalabo, the responses given by the Minister on the Kalabo district. Originally, Kalabo, the settlers there, they settled there because of those forests, which later became reserves. But the calling was because of the forests. Now, are there collaborative activities between the Ministry of Green Economy, caring for the forests, and the Ministry of Agriculture, responsible for agriculture, such that from that collaboration, resulting into aid to the people who have run short of farmland. Those collaborations, are they taking place to help the people acquire land for food production? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament for Kalabo. Indeed, the Minister of Agriculture, I'm aware, has plans to establish farming blocks in various parts of the country. But as to the details for Kalabo, I would refer to the Minister himself. Further information for the Honorable Member of Parliament is that, unfortunately, Kalabo district sits in an area which is now being devastated by effects of climate change. That part of the country is getting drier and drier. So protection of forests, especially those with ecologically sensitive areas, is very, very important. However, I'm sure we'll collaborate more with the Ministry of Agriculture to see if we can get more agricultural land, especially from traditional leaders. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Sinazongwe.
Madam Speaker, thank you so much. Minister, are you aware that part of the land that the Honorable Minister member is trying to find out is already being utilized illegally as in farming activities, and whether you are willing to surrender it to the illegal farmers so that they legally start farming? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister for Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Member of Parliament, for that question. To all my fellow members of Parliament, the question the Honorable Member asks is a very critical question. And it's the status of encroachment on these forests is very, very high. Very, very high. We are losing a lot of forest cover. But I want to be very, very clear in my response that illegal settlers must not feel comfortable. We want to increase rather than decrease forest cover. This government has no plans to degazette these forests. If you look at the data on these forests, in the last 10 years, we've lost almost 15% of the forest cover from the protected forests. And a situation which cannot be allowed to continue. We have no choice. Climate change is here. The issues on disaster risk management, under the Vice President's office, he will tell you that protection of these forests is key to our very survival. We have a choice. There's food insecurity now. There's water insecurity now. There's energy insecurity. All these can only be mitigated by ensuring we protect our forests. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kalabo Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Minister was talking of the advantages or the outcome of having these reserves. I don't know how many times the Minister has visited Kalabo, whether his response is current or historical. Madam Speaker, the response the Minister is giving is historical. Is the Minister able to provide an active measure which the government has put in place to protect the so-called reserves? Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Again, I can confirm to you, Honorable, that I've traversed the country. Some forests have been invaded or encroached to a very, very large extent. There are some forests which are so ecologically sensitive that there are plans for their restoration will allow regeneration. Right. There are some places where, for example, the Mongo forest, where springs used to flow, streams used to flow, they are no longer flowing. The water table has gone down so much that the cry from members here actually, where they drill, those years they used to drill boreholes 40, 50 meters. Now you have to go to 100 meters. It's getting serious. Even if some forests have been encroached to a high degree, there are plans to restore them so that natural regeneration is allowed. But where natural regeneration may be slow, where planned regeneration, planting of trees, will be done. When we say we are facing a climate crisis, We are being serious. There's a climate crisis. There's biodiversity loss. We have to restore biodiversity loss. Loss of biodiversity. So, it's a crisis. If it's a crisis, there's something we have to do about it seriously. Those dry spells you see, that flooding you see, the result of climate change. These are no longer foreign terminologies. It's no longer happening there. It's happening here. And these disasters, if you ask her Honorable the Vice President, because she runs DMMU, she'll tell you we're in a crisis. And we need to respond, and respond appropriately. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Kamfinsa.
Madam Speaker, I've been following the questions coming from the Member of Parliament for Kalabo and the responses that the Minister has been providing. I want to find out from the Minister in charge of green economy. Honorable Minister, from your responses, it is very clear that your primary focus is ensuring that these forests are reserved. I've not seen you appreciate the concerns from the Member of Parliament, because clearly the MP, as he leaves this House, he probably requires to provide feedback to the people that sent him to this constituency. Do you have plans to go and engage the community that has overrun this forest? And I'm asking this question because this is a very common problem, even in Kamfinsa, where the priority of our people in Mwekera Forest is to do agriculture as opposed to seeing trees emerge after 5 years. So are there plans, Minister, to help the Member of Parliament explain some of these considerations that you are making? Because clearly, Minister, you have missed the point that the MP is raising in as far as the economic activities of Kalabo is concerned. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Very important question Honorable Kangombe raises. And obviously, I have engaged Honorable Madam Speaker, this is very important for me to explain, and if you can, allow me to say a few things about what he has said. He's a Member of Parliament for Kamfinsa, Madam Speaker, and Kamfinsa hosts Mwekera Forest. Very, very important forest which has been encroached. That's where we have the Forestry College. That's where scientific activities as far as forestry are concerned are done. Honorable Member, that forest, Mwekera Forest, I can state for without a hint that we need to protect it. We need to protect it because that forest has different types of species, some deliberately planted there to ensure that there's history on the forest, first of all, and that the training of foresters is done there. It's one of the biggest links to forest preservation. So I can only ask you, Honorable Member, to help us protect that forest. As to the economic activities, again, which you brought up and the Honorable Mioti brought up, look, I sympathize with you, Honorable Member. Somehow it became very easy to look to forests, even where traditional land is available. Because there's a lot of traditional land there. In your district, Honorable Member, the total hectareage in that area is 50,000 hectares only. There's a lot of land around that in the district which can be used for agricultural activities. That forest with only 50,000 hectares of land is very ecologically sensitive. We can only ask for your support, sir. And obviously I would ask the Minister of Lands and other ministries to help us find alternative land to those forests. Because those forests, Honorable Member, are the forests which bring you enough rains. They are the forests which protect you from that floodplain. They are the same forests which will provide the necessary oxygen. So those forests are important to the same farmers who would want to settle in there. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Thank you, but the honorable member was asking whether you are willing to go to Kalabo to go and engage the people of Kalabo on how they can do carbon trading, for example.
We are very willing, Madam Speaker, and actually I call upon all other members of parliament to see how we can come together as a house and see how we protect these forests and see how our people, indeed, Madam Speaker, can get benefits from those carbon credits, and to see how we can engage their Royal Highnesses who hold thousands of hectares, how they can give some of this land to our people. Remember, Madam Speaker, a lot of investors are given thousands and thousands of tracts of land. Why is it not possible to give our farmers that land? These are questions we ask ourselves, because everybody, the propensity to get into the forest is very high, yet the forests occupy only a few thousand hectares of land. There's a lot of land out there. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, honorable member for Chienge.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, though my question has been overtaken, but I've received a message from those who are following the proceedings. They want just to congratulate the minister, the passion that he has for the forest. They're saying we love his passion, and I also want to say this, Madam Speaker, that he's doing a very good job. I just want to ask him a question which maybe he can use together with the Minister of Agriculture to work together and to find other means of helping our brothers and sisters in Kalabo, since the area is semi-desert. We have new technology of farming in such areas. If the Minister of Green Economy and the Minister of Agriculture can come together, because what the MP is crying for farm block. In other words, he's looking at food to be produced from his constituency. Would it be possible, Minister, to work with your colleague and to come up with a means of helping our brothers to do the new technology of farming in the deserts that is happening like in Egypt? I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Katuta, for those kind words. I hope the whole House can support us, because these are non-controversial issues. I thank you, members. Support him more. I want to commit to the House that we will take time to visit Kalabo with the Minister of Lands to ensure that we find the necessary solution for Kalabo. Indeed, working very closely with the Ministry of Agriculture, in areas like that, we are promoting climate-smart agriculture. We've trained extension officers to ensure that we teach our farmers how to utilize the little water there. So, Madam Speaker, through you, Honorable Member, you are not alone. You are with us, and we ensure that government will find the necessary land to accommodate the farmers, and will be with you and take the necessary measures. We will visit the constituents. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And as we try to help the Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment to protect the environment, we have all honorable members are supposed to plant 1,000 trees in their constituencies. I don't know how many have done that. So let's work together and plant those trees and protect the economy. The Honorable Member for Chembe.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Honorable Minister, I just want to find out from you and your personnel through the ministry, have you tried to carry out a social cost benefit analysis for you to give us a comprehensive direction on how we are going, whether agriculture or keeping the forest the way they are. Thank you.
The Honorable Minister of Green Economy and Environment.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We have not carried out that cost-benefit analysis, but various studies will show you that with the advent of climate change, economies of countries, GDPs of economies of a country are getting wiped out by at least 20%, just by forest degradation, because forests support economic activities in all areas, in all sectors. Social benefits, how do we improve? It's a reason, actually, Madam Speaker, we are trying to bring our people on board. This is basically not a government program. This is a people's program. Our very survival depends on it. I want to remind the members, as the Speaker has reminded us, we also have an obligation to plant those trees. Further, for some constituencies who do very well, we have climate finance. We are looking to see how we partner with yourselves across the board. All the 156 plus members of parliament, without exception, there are no political parties. They are just members of parliament, all Zambians, coming together to protect their environment. So please, let's come together. Further, Madam Speaker, a few months ago, we launched a communication and advocacy strategy, and I invited members to get a copy, and have not received very good cooperation. I ask that we engage as quickly as we can. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Honor the Vice President, adjournment.
Madam Speaker, I beg to move that the House do now adjourn.
The question is that the House do now adjourn. Any debate? Any objection? The question is agreed to. The House is now adjourned.
The Honorable Madam Speaker is making way out of the chamber. That's Madam Speaker's procession, as the House has concluded the 5 questions on the order paper and equally suspended the standing orders to enable the House seat tomorrow.